Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
In this week's episode of the Kindness Project, we talk about health, breakfast, and we have part 2 of our interview with Ian Nicholson from Sanctus.
Welcome, my friends, to the Kindness Project. I'm joined by a girl with, on quiz night, which it is tonight, has got an incredibly itchy head, and a man who hasn't travelled for 30 odd years, but has now got incredibly itchy feet. It's Itchy Charlotte and Itchy Russell. How are we doing, itchy people?
What makes you say I've got itchy heads?
Because you're thinking all the time like that. Head scratchers at the quiz.
That's very. You followed something there, and I don't know if
Right,
it's quite.
we have done 300 plus episodes now. I'm running out of introductions.
We all are. Do you remember the days we used to pre-write these?
Well, we probably should go back to that. I've introduced both of you every which way but loose, and I'm out. I'm spent.
Yeah, I'm
spent physically. I'm spent intellectually. I don't know what else to say.
How are you doing emotionally, mate?
I'm actually, you know what? I've got to talk about this because it's been bugging me. Health-wise, pretty good, right? I've got a toothache today, and I think. Sorry. Well, no, I'm getting some Corsadil from. Yeah. God, this is like. But this is how far we've got after 300 plus episodes. We're just talking about the fact that I've got a toothache. You've got a toothache, Charlotte?
I do, yeah.
So when I have a toothache, normally Corsadil fixes it, and we've run out of Corsadil. So my amazing wife apparently is bringing me some back. So
let me tell you me good news.
Go on.
Yeah, go on.
I lost £9 last week.
Woo!
And me scales tell me my body makeup, you know, the percentages.
Yeah.
I've gained 4% muscle.
Oh, amazing.
I don't know where, but 4% muscle. And
we could go down so many rabbit holes with that comment, Raz. I just don't know where to start.
After your expert advice, I've also brought myself what they call them?
Now you're wiggling your head. Funny for our audience of look. I know we forget that people listen to this, but for our audience of podcast listeners, Russell, how would I?
That is what I'd called it. That's what I called it, a barbell. But it's the one with the long bar, not the small barbell.
Barbell, yeah, because they're dumbbells.
Oh, dumbbells.
So you've gone for a barbell, not a dumbbell. Have you been using your barbell?
It's coming tomorrow.
I thought that might have been responsible for the 4% muscle mass.
If you was listening to what I said to her, I said I've ordered one.
All right, okay, fair enough. My new fitness toy is resistance bands. They're good. They come in 2 little handles, and they're massive. Well, basically, they're massive rubber bands, but they're very portable.
They're the ones you stand on one end and then pull the other, aren't they?
Exactly.
I've seen them.
Yeah, so I've got a bunch of them. They're good because the thing is with dumbbells and kettlebells and all that sort of stuff, it's all heavy.
How much was the resistance bands?
I don't know. Not expensive. They're on Amazon.
I'm going to have a look.
Oh, it's setting yourself a little home gym up there, right, isn't you?
I've got a treadmill and a exercise bike.
Yeah, exactly. Question of the podcast, not that we do that anymore. What's your worst favourite and least favourite exercise equipment?
I love a stationary bike.
Static bike. static bike.
I'm liking my treadmill, to be honest.
Treadmill.
I'm not enjoying the bike as much as I am the treadmill.
So my favourite is one of two, right? It's either my actual bike that I use more than any other piece of equipment ever because I'm on it going places all the time at the minute. Yeah. So my actual bike is possibly my favourite. My favourite piece of like training equipment, massive tyre. Flipping the tyre is one of my favourite exercises. Did you ever flip the tyre, Russ?
I'll be totally honest with you. If I wanted to play with tyres, I would have gone to work for the AA, but...
I mean, if we're talking about things that are physically straining but not actual exercise equipment that was designed for exercise, I think I get a bit of a workout when I walk over the hill with 2 shopping bags and a backpack.
Sorry, Russ, have you ever flipped a tyre?
No.
I have.
You don't know what you're missing, mate. Have you ever walked over an hill in Glasgow with 2 shopping bags and a backpack?
No.
You don't know what you're missing, mate. Honestly. I mean, walking up that hill, Charlotte, in Glasgow is actually hard work. I've never tried it.
You know what I have tried, though? The ropes. You know the ropes you hold and go like that?
Love a bit of the ropes.
Yeah.
Love
doing that hill with a week to 2 weeks worth of shopping is not ideal, but...
is that your worst accidental training equipment then? 2 bags of shopping and there?
No, the thing is, because I started once I came back, like at the beginning, I was like struggling with the hill a little bit, and now I just like.
How much do you pay for your shopping, Charlotte?
21 quid a week. Gone up a bit.
And you get a month at a time?
No. I get like a week or 2 weeks at a time.
Oh yeah. I see why you don't get home delivered now. Because I have home delivery, but I've just signed up for that Hello Fresh.
Go on. Other home delivery brands available.
But
so have we been sponsored by Hello Fresh now or not?
No, we're not.
They sponsor a lot of podcasts, just not us.
Why are we giving them so much free publicity then?
Let me phone them.
We've given loads of stuff free publicity.
Yeah, so I just signed up for that.
I mean, Ninja must owe us about £1 million, the amount of times we mentioned Ninja product.
That's owe me about £1 million.
Yeah. So go on, tell us about Hello Fresh.
Yeah, so we struggle with portion size.
Mm.
And always cook too much. So now I've had the plan that it comes portioned out, and they're reasonable portions, but a lot smaller than
appropriate.
Yeah, a lot smaller than I'm having.
Yeah.
So the method in the madness is try and cut out that element of I'll have a little bit more of that by
Yeah, that makes sense. My strategy, and I'm not like massively desperate about losing weight or anything like that, but thought I'd give it a go. What's working for me at the minute is intermittent fasting, and that's basically a posh name for don't have breakfast.
Yeah.
But
well, you do get a bit. I remember that time I bought you a coffee with 2 sweeteners in it at 11:30. You were like, "This ain't on."
Well, no, you know what you meant to do. I mean, I'm not like super religious about it because there's days when I'm doing other stuff where I'll have a big breakfast because I'll need to or I just want to. But the idea is that you don't take in any calories between 8 at night and 12 the next day.
Idea.
Sorry?
A good idea.
Well, you know what? It's weird. I didn't know how I was going to get on with it. So I tried it for a few days, thinking that I'd be really hungry. I was, and I still am. So I get to lunchtime, actually wanting to eat. And you know what I realised, guys? I was probably eating breakfast and having calories before lunchtime, not out of genuine hunger, not because I needed the calories, out of habit.
Yeah.
So I forgot what feeling actually hungry and wanting food felt like.
Do you know what? Do you know what's crazy about that story? I used to skip breakfast and lunch. I tend to have lunch now, but what I do is I'd finish working between 8 past. It'd take an hour to cook tea, so I was eating at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And it was sitting on my stomach. I wasn't sleeping well because I was skipping lunch as well.
Yeah. I'm not. What they say is having an 8-hour window, or what the researchers meant to say. And again, I'm not advocating this for everybody. Do what works for you. Is that 8-hour window just helps your body recover as well?
I think it's right.
Yeah, I don't know. And I didn't realise that breakfast being the most important meal of the day started off as a marketing campaign by Kellogg.
Well, they're all marketing campaigns. All them things you think are happening in marketing.
We take decisions with our lives based on people just wanting to sell us more stuff.
But
that's kind of how marketing works as a general rule.
I know how marketing works. I know how marketing works. But okay, let me frame it this way. Nutrition in the West has got worse incrementally in the past 100 years. Now, I don't know if I'm going back too far 100 years, because if we're in 1923, we're probably not eating.
Go back too far, and you've it's sort of like with
Well, if I go back too far, we're administering medicine with slugs. Funny enough, Charlotte, in Norfolk still do.
They're not slugs, they're leeches, and they still
Sorry.
Leeches have proven medicinal use.
The blood with them sometimes.
Sorry, not slugs, leeches. And apologies if I've insulted your kind fellow Norfolkians. Is that a word? Norfolkians?
Also, they still do use leeches in some.
I bet there's no triangulist down here, though.
Yeah, but the problem is, we've now invented some in-jokes.
I'm the only triangulist in the village, I tell you.
Well, I'm a triangulist as well, and I'm maybe the best triangulist in this family. Can you explain to Charlotte what a triangulist is? Because she's a bit lost.
One that plays the triangle. So your dad was telling me the other day, Charlotte.
Gregory Porter asked me to
Gregory Porter played to play in his band.
Right. He pointed. I was at Blenheim Palace.
He pointed out to the crowd, as he does every show. It's crowd work, and that's how music works. That's how live performance works.
Right. He looked me bang in the face, pointed to me directly, and went, Chris, you can join my band.
Pretty sure Mum has video footage to prove otherwise, but sure.
Yeah, but she didn't catch him. She turned the video on after he'd done that. And after the security guards have stopped me clambering on the stage.
Now, what?
That's a joke. I didn't try and jump on the stage at a Gregory Porter concert.
What's the reason she turned the video on? Because he asked you to join the band.
Exactly. Proves that he actually asked me to join the band.
Yep. I totally agree. Can you produce the video though?
No, because it started after he asked. But it was one of those things where he pointed.
How can it prove that he asked her? How can it prove that he asked you if you can't prove that he asked her?
Because Casey turned it on to catch the end of it, but missed it.
Ah.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like an episode of Would I Lie to You, isn't it?
Right. Listen.
We all know that it's a lie. We don't even have to.
Listen. next time Gregory Porter's on the telly and I'm in the background with a little triangle, you're not. Who's going to be laughing then, eh?
Now,
maybe you should lie about less elaborate things.
What I think you should do, now you're such good buds with him, get him on the phone and say to him, pop on our podcast and let us know that.
Right, okay. All right. We can do this. Right. Let me see what I can do.
You're stumbling and stuttering now.
No,
that still mean with much confidence that you're going to follow through.
Right, no, I'm just going to phone him. See what he says. And see if he'll come on. I can't get in touch with him right now. His phone's not working.
Oh dear. That's unfortunate.
Hold on, there he is.
Why don't you try your other band?
You can join my band.
That's Spotify.
No, it's not. It's Greg. He's on the phone.
It's Gregory Porter on Spotify.
He's always got his backing band. I should be there as his triangulist. I said to him, Greg, no. Podcast is more important.
You know what?
Next time you need me, I'll be there. But today, I'm recording the Kindness Project.
You know what? I'm going to go on Countdown and try and get triangulist. And when they look in the dictionary, it's going to say Chris Staines, one that plays the triangle at Gregory Porter concerts.
That's it. Spot on. On that note, shall we move on after that absolute nonsense? Shall we move on to another fun-filled episode of Kindness News? Did you do it, Charlotte?
Huh?
Did you do it?
Well, you talked over me, so...
Sorry. Now, we've got one episode of...
Kindness News.
Ping! See what I mean about being a good triangulist?
I don't need a triangle. The Kindness News theme song doesn't need a triangle.
Right.
It needs like a guitar, I think.
Okay, go on. Give us your guitar version of Kindness News. Yeah.
Oh, I don't own a guitar.
Right, Russ, you're going to be the guitarist on this one. Mouth guitarist. Go on. Do the Kindness News jingle again, Charlotte.
Kindness News.
What was that?
It's bass.
It glitched on my end, so it just made it sound like the one sound that was really high pitched.
It sounded like a really deep version of the Countdown theme tune. Do kindness. Right. Now let's get serious because this is quite a serious story. Slough teen leaves trail of kindness that will be remembered forever as family play tribute. The family of a teen stabbed to death in Slough have paid tribute to their lovely son, Temo Qureshi, 19, who was pronounced dead at the scene at the stabbing in Harpenden Road. The family have described him as a lovely son whose love knew no bounds and whose presence in their lives provided them with endless comfort. Thames Valley Police have launched an investigation to catch Temir's murderer. His mum and dad said he lived his life putting others before him, leaving a trail of kindness and generosity that will be remembered forever. He brought endless joy into our lives. His kindness, strength, and laughter will forever echo in our hearts. His presence was a radiant beacon of love, illuminating our lives with unparalleled warmth. Now, whilst that's clearly a tragic piece of news, and our tributes go out to Timur and his family, and clearly the challenge we face where young people think it's sensible to take out knives, we need to do something about. What interests me in that story, particularly in relation to the podcast, is what Temmer's going to be remembered for. So he's not remembered for the amount of money he had in the bank. He's not remembered for being the best academic or football player. He's remembered for a personal trait, and that trait, when Temmer is concerned, is kindness. And I suppose we want to play tribute to Temmer by reading out that story and applauding him that throughout his life he had a positive impact on other people. But I suppose it goes back to that thing, memento mori. Remember death, remember that it comes to us, and remember that actually what people remember is the hopefully positive impact you had on people's lives. What do you guys think?
Well, we was only discussing this the other.
We discussed it with a Kindness Project guest, then upcoming interview, don't we?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm not overly fussed by what I leave behind, because for me, death is the end of a cycle. But I don't know. I'm not overly worried by what people think, to be honest.
No? How about you, Charlotte? What do you think about legacy?
I think I'm sort of similar, but I don't care how people remember me, just that they do. Like, I don't want 2 months to go by and people never think about me again, you know?
In what way? In what way would you love people to think about you?
Don't know. Just
for me or Charlotte.
Who'd like to answer first?
You go first, Ross. I'm still new.
Because I struggle with loss and remembering, I don't think I want people to remember. I don't want to cause people pain. And the big thing for me is knowing, because I've done right and wrong in life, the big thing for me is knowing I'm the best I can be now.
Yeah, no,
I'm not worrying about what I leave behind, but
I get that.
I'm doing the right thing now.
Yeah, and you certainly are, Rose. You're doing an amazing job, so well done with that. Go on.
Oh, there's a... Hold on. I can't see my face. There's a really... I've been reading a lot of works by Christina Rossetti recently, and I swear I'll make it relevant. And there's a really beautiful poem she wrote, and it's sort of broken down into 3 sections, and it's sort of, you can see the transition, and it starts with her having this idea of don't forget me when I die, and sort of moves into, well, what would it be like if you forgot me? And the last section is sort of her saying it's okay to forget me when I die, as long as that means that you don't have to suffer the pain of my death. I will find the poem at some point, but it's this really beautiful, short poem. Not short, but it's not 20 pages long. About just, wanting people to move on when you're gone.
See, that's like the transition I went through.
Yeah.
To be honest, where I used to be concerned about being forgotten. Now, all I'm concerned about is being the best I can be.
Yeah, and that's what you can do, really, isn't it?
Not worrying about whether people remember, knowing, but my own personal, in my own personal mind, I've done the right thing.
I found the poem, if that's important at all.
Well, we'll hear the poem, because a little bit of beautiful poetry on the Kindness Project sounds good to me. But I think I might differ from you two in this regard. I think leaving a positive impact on not when you're dead, but while you're around, and that positive impact being not. I mean, by the way, sorry, you two, please do remember me. Just so you know, I want to be in an oak coffin floating down the Thames
That's a cardboard box.
I want to. No. I want a Viking funeral. I want the arrows. I don't want Russ to fire the arrows. Actually, neither of you. You're rubbish shots.
I was a good shot when I was younger. I'm not a good shot now.
Right. Okay. I'll get somebody good to fire the arrow. Set fire to the thing, but I want it so that I'm floating all the way down the Thames, creating mayhem along the way. That will be my legacy. Anyway, but I do. I mean, I think when I think about it, I do want to leave a positive legacy with everybody I interact with in some sort of way. And I don't know how that looks, but do I care about what I leave behind? Yeah, I do care about what I leave behind. Not from a financial perspective, or by the way, Charlotte, you're not getting anything. I'm spending it before I go.
That's fine.
But clearly, we're in a position where the real value you leave is what how you make others feel and what you teach others. I think that's the interesting thing. Now, how sustainable is that? It's not, is it? Because clearly, if we zoom out properly, will any of us be remembered in hundreds of years' time? No.
Well, that depends. I see on telly and that people going to graveyards and look
cleaning up
the other graves.
Yeah.
And there's people in their hundreds of years old.
Yep.
People are still visiting and wondering who they are.
No, I know. But as I said, I'm going to be at the bottom of the Thames in my oak coffin, aren't I? Because I won't float forever unless I do float forever. Can you get me an oak coffin that floats forever just up and down the Thames?
That reminds me.
Just put you in a little waterfall.
That reminds me of the never-ending log in, Lisa's world in Simpsons, where it travels around the world just on the sea.
That is all I want.
Just stick him in a lazy Susan and he'll be fine.
Float me around the world, Russ.
No, not a lazy Susan, nothing wrong with
that. That sounds like a fitting legacy for somebody like me.
We'll shove you in the pool outside to see me.
Sorry, you're just going to put me in a lake. That doesn't sound like an appropriate legacy.
That's the cheapest way of doing it, though.
Yeah, right. As I said, money will be of no expense because I'm not giving Charlotte any. All of the money's going towards making sure that I float around the world forever. There'll be a trust fund set up to make sure that I'm able to do that. Is that right, Charlotte? Is that a good use of inheritance?
I want people to remember me for good, but I'm cutting you out of me will.
You'll get something. I mean, I'm thinking about £2.80 and a curly whirly. I mean, that's plenty, isn't it?
Oh, come on. At least upgrade it to a block of cheese. Give me a block of cheese.
Sorry, my positive legacy is I corrode your arteries with cheese. Is that what you Christ. Right, anyway, all I'm saying is we are remembered for the impact we have on others often. So let's be awesome to each other.
If you really want to corrode your arteries, you could stretch to a cheeseburger at Mackey's.
Cheeseburger at Mackey's would be cheaper than getting me a block of cheese.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Done. You sold it. You sold it on cheap. Anyway, in other news, let's have part 2 of our interview with Ian Nicholson from Sanctus. But before we do, and so Charlotte's got a bit of time to do a bit of research, let's unpick.
Yeah, hold on.
Let's unpick the things we've talked about on today's show. We've talked about Longcombe cheeses. We've talked about Viking funerals. What else have we talked about, Russ?
Weight loss.
We've talked about weight loss. What else have we talked about? Barbells and fitness equipment. You've got plenty of subjects, Charlotte. What one are you going to go for? She's not telling us. She's keeping it secret. While she's doing that, let me introduce you to part 2 of the interview with Ian. Ian's an amazing guy, a trustee of Sanctus, who do brilliant work helping people who really need it with the support they need, both from a food perspective, but also from a community and support perspective, getting them back on their feet. Let's hear all about the amazing work that Sanctus does and Ian supports them with.
I suppose one of the other factors that's interesting in terms of that is volunteering. So in terms of the way Sanctus is staffed, is it employed people, volunteers, combination of the two? How does it work?
We have it's like a tier. So we have a CEO, Emma, who was one of the trustees, and then we changed the structure only a few months ago. So she is the CEO, so she runs it. We have like a hub manager who runs upstairs. We have a cafe manager who runs downstairs. And then we have, I'm trying to think now, 3 or 4 other employed staff. Yeah. So we probably have about 7 employed staff, some of whom work upstairs, some of them work downstairs. But we literally have, Chris, I reckon 100, 150 volunteers that come in.
Amazing.
And they will do, some have got different skills. Some will, because we get donations from different shops and different supermarkets in town. So Sainsbury's and a few others, M&S will donate stuff to us. So they'll go and collect from them. But also we have volunteers that come in to serve the service users. So again, they'll come in during the day and they'll serve they'll be like waitresses. So they'll serve the staff. The volunteers are brilliant. I mean, they build relationships. Because the other thing which you notice when you're actually on the ground with this is that unfortunately when you walk along, sometimes you see a homeless person. They're just somebody lying on the street and whatever. And I'm not saying you don't think about it, but sometimes you just sort of walk on by. And when you start talking to people and you start building relationships with them, you realise there's no different to anybody else. There, but for the grace of God goes everybody.
Yeah, 100%.
And the what's great with all the volunteers is they don't judge. They don't, everyone comes in. This isn't, Sanctus isn't a religious organisation. It's secular. But there's something about, get back to the giving. The volunteers do it because they want to put something back. Now, some come in only once a week, some will come in 3 or 4 times a week, some will come in once a month. Some will just clear up in the kitchen, some will do whatever. But everyone buys into the idea that we want to help these people who are less fortunate than us.
I think one thing that shone through is when we spoke about it before is that importance of building a relationship.
Yeah.
Before getting them to a point where they are, because you I'd imagine that the big first step is building trust, isn't it? And for the service users to know that they're not going to be preached to or try they just want to they want to be helped, but
absolutely.
But it's the trust that comes first.
It's treating them as adults. It's treating them not as just numbers. I'm not saying everybody that comes in wants to be helped, because there are some people that are just happy to just come in, have a meal and go out again. But there's a heck of a lot of people that come in that want to be helped. And sometimes they either feel too ashamed or they might feel whatever. And again, if they're dealt with respect and maturity and love, the staff downstairs, it's brilliant to watch. And they're not particularly trained in it. They're not sort of trained psychologists or anything like that. But you can see they've got empathy. They can work out with people. Yeah. And very quickly, they do build relationships with the service users. And then there's no false in it. They'll just talk them. And if someone sort of says, well, actually, I would like help with this, that, or the other, well, great. Let's move you to so-and-so. And it is about relationships. We've got people that have come in, blimey, all 11 years we've been open. There's people, but there's other people that suddenly will turn up we've never seen before. And again, they'll be treated with the same respect and find out a bit about. We're not intrusive because, again, people on the streets for different reasons. And so you just have to be mindful of that. But again, as I stress, it's not just people on the streets. You've got people that are sofa surfing. You've got people that we get a lot now. People that are victims of domestic violence, where we get families coming because we rehouse people as well. We don't physically have houses, but we will help with them with the housing.
And that's part of the homeless issue, isn't it? Homelessness is always perceived as living on the streets, but you could be living quite a transient lifestyle, struggling, but not perceived as directly homeless. So understand the work you're doing, and that's amazing. Now I know because we've been stalking you, Ian, in preparation for that. Not you personally, the charity. So my research team have said, look, Chris, you need to ask about your events that you've got coming up, particularly the ones you're sharing on social media. So tell us a little bit about those.
We've got a variety of different events. I did actually look at your thing, which came through. We have a variety of ones. We've got in October. We do a lot of events actually in the cafe itself. So in October we've got a 3-course meal that's coming up, which will be like a taster meal, which people come along, they have a meal, the chefs will cook for them. It's like a proper evening out. It's a proper evening out, which again does that. You've actually just missed one. We had a beer festival a couple of weeks ago, where again we had a stall at a beer festival, made a fortune in terms of that. So we've got that. I'm trying to think. You've actually caught me on the hop a little bit in terms of what else we've got. Come on, you've researched it. What else is in the middle? What else have you seen?
You know what? They didn't give me that information. what we will do is we'll give we'll put all of the events coming up on the podcast show notes so that people can have a look at what events you've got coming up, and if they're local, help you attend and stuff like that. So we'll make sure. But I'd imagine they do 2 jobs, don't they? They help to raise money and are sort of good awareness raisers in terms of.
I like to think that the events we hold in-house. So because again, it used to be a restaurant and it is set up like a restaurant. So we can serve 60, 70 people quite comfortably. And we call it rock and roll bingo night. We'll have it where it's music is played and you have to sort of cross off the song when it comes off. But again,
I love that. I love that. What? So can people come in and buy a meal to fund the? How does it work in terms of that?
Well, theoretically, they could. The truth is, and again, let's be honest, you're dealing with people. Again, I'd love to say it's all sweetness and light in there all the time. It isn't, because you're dealing with people with issues. So, by all means, come in. We would never. No, if anyone wants to come in, we'd love you to come in. And if you want to have a meal, you can have a meal. Let's say we feed anybody, so you can come in, you can have a meal, make a donation. Absolutely no problem. We don't set a price. If you want to make a donation, just be aware you're not going into a normal restaurant.
Sure.
You're going into an environment with people with maybe some issues and stuff. So I'm not saying it's a den of iniquity or anything like that. But again, you've got people in there that have got issues.
It's designed to help and support people, isn't it?
Absolutely, So no, people could come in. I mean, we do actually really do encourage people and either contact me or the Sanctus itself. If people want to do a tour, we're always saying come in and do a tour. Just again, make
really
people aware what's going on.
Perfect. Now, we like a story on the Kindness Project, and we are conscious of making sure that it remains anonymous and everybody's comfortable with sharing the stories. But what story do you think illustrates the impact of Sanctus the best?
Ooh. There are so. This is going to sound really cliche. I'm going to give you a story. But I'm going to premise that by saying there are so many. And because we do so many different things, it's wrong to say that this one thing covers everything, because we do cover a whole multitude of things. Sure. I'm going to give 2 examples. First one, which one shall I do first? Right, the first one, we had a service user that passed away. He was only 32. He was found, and he was overdosed. He was found in a car park in Chelmsford. Awful story. His family, who didn't have much money, came to us. I mean, we know him. He was a long-standing service user, only 32. Remember, they couldn't afford the funeral, so we organised fundraising, and within less than 24 hours, we'd raised enough money to provide a funeral for that guy. Amazing. So that guy had a dignified send-off. In fact, we had to stop the fundraising because to be fair, we've got a Facebook site, social media. We put it up there. Followers and sponsors of Sanctus, literally within less than 24 hours, within a day, had given us enough for that. So that's on a short-term thing, but it's to show how much people care about that. And that was able to give him a decent send-off. His family, who didn't have enough money to do anything, were able to do that. The funeral director helped her out a little bit as well. So that's one area.
I suppose the Sanctus thing is about giving people that dignity and respect.
Absolutely.
And that's not only in life, is it? It's that element.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Chris, you've hit it in one. It's about giving people dignity. It's about treating them as what they are, human beings, not just somebody that can be ignored. The other one is more a case of this isn't about someone that's homeless, it was someone that was suffering domestic violence. So we had a young lady, she had 2 children, and she was pregnant, and she was a victim of domestic violence. And she came to us over a period of time. And unfortunately, a lot of times associated with domestic violence, as much as the domestic violence is happening, the victims find it very difficult to walk away.
Yeah.
And so she came to us, and sometimes she'd come to us, obviously she'd been beaten and what have you. And again, we respect people's wishes. She didn't want the police involved, so we don't do that. We don't force anything on anybody. What we did, or what not we did, but what the hub did, the members of the hub team, was firstly they talked to her, built relationships, and then convinced is the wrong word, but got her to realise that she didn't have to still be living in that relationship.
Yeah.
What we then did, through our connections with some of the social housing in Chelmsford, is we found her accommodation. So we found her accommodation. Not only did we find her accommodation, we then, through our connections, we decorated the accommodation. We got furniture for the accommodation. We got some food for her. We got everything else. By this stage as well, she'd actually given birth, so now she's got a newborn baby as well. So it allowed somebody who was in. I think in the end, she did actually take out restraining order on the partner. But while she was with us, we took her from someone who was totally desperate, literally turned up at our door, didn't know where else to go. Someone had told her about us, and she came in, fed her. We looked after the kids, to the stage where she then had her own place. But the other thing, and this is something you don't realise, because she'd been in a controlling and coercive relationship, she hadn't done anything in the house. The partner had done everything, dealt with the bills, everything. So she was just subservient. So she didn't know how to deal with bills, everything that me and you would take for granted. So again, we've got what's called a tenancy sustainment officer. And what she does, if someone's not used to living in a property, she will actually help them get used to that. So basically,
learn how to do it.
Yeah, you didn't know. So literally, we'd say to sometimes, come into us with a pile of bills, and we'll show you what to do, how to pay it, how to set up direct debits. We even got, I'm not saying we did it for this lady, but we have one of the banks come into us and do virtual bank accounts for people, because sometimes service users can't get bank accounts because they haven't got permanent place of residence. So we got a bank account as well. So we did all of that. And I think that shows we got somebody who was, and to be fair, she was hungry because, again, he wasn't feeding her. So she's pregnant, got 2 young kids, victim of domestic violence. She comes into us, and at the end of the process, she's been, her mental health was better because obviously she's away from the domestic abuse. She's in a new place. She's got safe, and I suppose
living independently.
Absolutely,
her kids are safe, and
and she can still come back, and she does still come back.
Yeah,
because again, she's not perfect. No, she's still got the issues of everyday life. So, and then that's the thing, because we're not, again, I'll come back to the statutory funding thing. Because we have there's no checks and balances. You turn up at our door,
we'll help.
Yeah. And I think, and there's hundreds of others options, but I think that, to me, the funeral for the service user, where like that, we sorted it. Because again, the other thing to say is sometimes with statutory bodies, you can't do things quickly. You have to go through a process.
Yeah.
With us,
so having that flexibility and nimbleness as an organisation has been really important, right?
Yeah, we've had people in crisis that will phone, and we've got members of staff. Our CEO has spent evenings with people that are suicidal. They've gone out to them, they've sat with them. We've had so many instances like that. And as I say, again, non-statutory funding has its challenges in terms of how we get our funding in. But I think because we've got that flexibility that we can do almost whatever we want at the time, and react to things in a time.
You can help immediately as opposed to,
Because unfortunately,
I suppose one of the big things that I get sort of an impression of here is you can't do that without partners. And looking at your website, there's a bunch of food retailers, a bunch of other businesses that support the amazing work you do. plus also the partners in local authority and the council and stuff like that. How important are those partnerships? And tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely massive. I mean, what we're trying to do, and it's part of what I do now in my role as a trustee, is to reach out to other business owners to almost make them Sanctus sponsors. So to say, as part of their corporate social responsibility, or just because they want to do it, get them involved. And let's be honest, and this, and I'm not naive on this. Companies, it does. They do it for the right reasons, but it still looks quite nice to know you're supporting a charity. It's showing that you actually care in the community. You're not just doing it just for the profit.
Yeah.
So I say to people, look, come on board. And the partnerships are unbelievably important. There's a car firm. We had. Am I allowed to mention names, or do you refer me not?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right. Lookers in Chelmsford donated a van for us. Okay, so we have a van that they paid for. They've given us brand new van. They paid for the fuel as well. They may even pay for the insurance from memory. I can't remember. But literally, we've got this van now. So if we need to, for argument's sake, if we've got furniture to move into someone's new house, we can use that. If we want to go and collect something, we can do that. And that's massive.
Yeah.
Absolutely massive.
But you know what? I think similar to you and I, we're both been in business or both in business. Yeah. I think most people. I mean, I'm a bit biased because my core belief is most people are generally good.
Yes.
And actually, if you have been lucky to build a decent business, you want to give back, don't you?
Yeah.
It's that element. Now, there might be an element of how people perceive you.
Yeah.
But and there might be an element of feeling good because you're doing good work. That's another part of it. But actually, I think a lot of people do it because they know it's the right thing to do and they want to help.
So, absolutely. And I say people like Lookers, they were absolutely fabulous. I mean, we didn't even ask for it. They approached us and said, "Would you like this?" Okay, yeah, it'd be lovely. So yeah, I think the partnerships are essential. I think not only, as I say, not only for the monetary side of it, but also the exposure. So we've now got a van going around Chelmsford. Okay, it's got Lookers, and absolutely fine. It's got Lookers branding on it, but it's got Sanctus's brand on it as well.
Love it. Yeah,
and that's a massive bonus for us. It
builds the awareness, doesn't it?
It does.
I've heard you got some exciting news about opening a shop. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, what we're doing, we decided literally opposite where we are in Chelmsford. It used to be a charity shop, and unfortunately the owners passed away, so it's derelict now. But the landlords came across to us and said, would we like to take it on? So what we're in the process of doing now is setting it up. I think we're due to open it in like the 1st of December. And it'll be a bona fide charity shop, but not just to sell stuff, because obviously that's going to bring in funding. But again, bring awareness to the local area about what we do, because we'll have an opening and everything else. And the thing I'm really excited about is once it's up and running, it'll all be run by volunteers. So we've already got it won't cost us a penny in terms of staffing, because we've got volunteers, some with retail experience that will go in there and run it. But the really exciting thing is from a service user perspective, because what we're going to do is service users that want to get on in the workplace, obviously one of the problems they've got is they haven't got references. So what we can do is, say every 6 months, we'll have 2 or 3 service users that actually will work in the shop.
See, I love that idea. Yeah. I love that idea.
Then when they leave, or when we can then say, okay, well, they've worked in the shop in a retail environment, give them a reference. So when they go on, they will then have a track record of working somewhere. Now, again, there'll be an element of trust because there'll be money exchanging hands, etc., etc. So providing, obviously, they keep up their side of the bargain and do it correctly, it gives them a shot up. So from our perspective, yes, it helps our presence in the city. It helps our name awareness. It will bring in, we've done the figures, it should bring in a fair bit of money coming in, looking at what the charity did before. But again, back to the unintended consequences, other service users then will be able to use that to further their rehabilitation, for want of a better word, in society. And it's really exciting. So as I say, we've literally within the last month, we've agreed it.
Because that's the other gap, isn't it? The gap, like we've spoken about a little bit already, but the gap is not only food, it's skills, confidence, knowledge,
Absolutely.
Like real life experience to help people just re-engage with society. And I'd imagine volunteering in the shop is going to fill a gap there.
Absolutely. I mean, even to be fair, we'll even sometimes give someone a suit to go for an interview. Yeah. So again, you go for an interview, or smart clothes anyway, to go for an interview. So all that sort of. So yeah, the shop. What's this space? I think it's certainly the first week of December. That's when it's going to open, and hopefully, it will improve the image of Sanctus even more within the local community.
Talk to me a little bit about people who've heard about Sanctus and the amazing work you do, and they want to get involved. How can people help?
Obviously, if they want to give us some money, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Or a van.
No, I mean, I think I said earlier, just come along. If they want to help, they want to get involved. Just come down to the charity. It's in Broomfield Road. It's number 30 to 32 Broomfield Road in Chelmsford. If anyone knows Chelmsford, it's not far from the bus station. Just come along and say hello. Have a look round, and if you want to volunteer, great. If you want to start donating, great. If you want to run an event, great. If you're, I've been out to schools and done events where I've sort of done assemblies for people and explained, and the kids have done, and it was lovely. I did a thing at a local primary school I did it, but a local primary school were looking for a charity to support. It's one of their projects. It's year 9, it's a 13-year-old, something like that. Went along, and each class had a different charity. The charity that was looking after Sanctus, now bless them, they raised 62 quid, and they were really downhearted. I said, look, you've done tremendously, because that's roughly, I haven't said this, roughly it costs us £3 to feed someone. So it's about £3 a meal. So I said to them, you've just fed 20 people. And the look on their faces was it was a picture.
But you talk about that direct impact, being able to turn around and go, look, this amount of money has had this amount of impact is huge.
No, I mean, yes, money's great, but I think, and also it helps people's mental health as well. I think people that come to us, the volunteers, I'm not saying from a selfish perspective, but maybe an unintended consequence is that it improves their situation.
It's really interesting. I wrote about this in the book. So when we're doing the research into this, I've got your copy here, by the way. I didn't have a copy for you last time, so next time I see you, I've got a copy to give you. But I wrote about this in the book because what I wanted to do when I'm just talking about kindness, I felt it was also important to talk about being kind to yourself and making sure that you were looking after your own mental health so you could serve others better. And one of the things that I said that's been a positive impact on my own mental health is being kind to others. And the science backs it up, because actually dopamine kicks in and the endorphins kick in when you help others. It's called the helper's high. It helps. So there's plenty of science to say that, and that's why I've had conversations with people in the past who have said, look, I'm going through a tough time, and one of the strategies that they should think about is helping others. So I'd encourage everybody to think about doing that.
No, absolutely.
We come to the end of the interview, and I've loved it. I could have asked you questions for another 5 hours, but that might be the longest podcast. We could get a Guinness World Record.
There you go.
The longest podcast in the world. Talk to me a little bit about where, because people are going to be listening to this while they're walking their dog or on their bike or going for a run. Where can they find out more information about you online?
Online, if you just Google Sanctus Chelmsford, the website, as you've seen, comes up. So go on there. There'll be information there. There'll be contact details. Do you put out about on your podcast? I mean, I can give you my email address.
Yeah.
But...
So the other thing you can do is go to www.thekindnessproject.co.uk. And every single thing we've spoken about will have a link on the show notes, including the events that neither of us know really well, but
we'll get them.
Our research team will get to it, and we'll make sure that all gets shared. Ian, thank you for your time today. I've really enjoyed it.
Chris, that's been a pleasure. Thanks very much. Cheers.
So that was part 2 of the interview. This is the end of another podcast, but Russ...
The end is never really the end, because the end is always the beginning.
Russ has changed his voice. Russ...
I sound a bit female there, don't I?
Well, there's one subject we haven't brought up on the podcast, Russ, and I'm a bit reticent to do so, but we might save that for next time.
What?
Your love of Married at First Sight.
Oh, yeah. Good-looking girl.
And on that note, we're leaving it there. We might tell the story, but we might not. Your eyebrows went up again, Russ. Your eyebrows went up. And on that note, we're ending with joke of the week.
Why can athletes lift more than prisoners?
Don't know.
Because the pros outweigh the cons.
That's not bad, you know. I quite like one. The pros outweigh the cons. I like it.
That's a double header as well.
That was quite good.
That's a fitness and prison joke.
Yeah, I know. It's all of them. On that note, friends, that's the end of another podcast. Have a lovely day, and we'll see you on the Kindness Project soon.
Bye.
Bye.